The arrogance of the Sindrath. The void between stars shimmered as the Sindrath Dominion fleet emerged from warp. Dozens of bioorganic warships, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent veins, spread out in perfect formation. Each vessel was alive, grown, not built, bred from centuries of conquest and arrogance. At their center floated the flagship Vraxthal, a massive dreadnought shaped like a predatory manta, its skin rippling with dark crimson light. Inside its command chamber, War Marshal Exorvath towered over the strategy dais. His 4 golden eyes reflected the holographic display of the Soul Frontier, the next target in the Dominion's unbroken campaign of expansion. Terrans, he hissed, the word like acid. A minor species that clawed its way from its homeworld barely 2 centuries ago. They expand too quickly. Their colonies breed defiance. They will learn their place beneath us. Around him, the Sindrath officers bowed, their tendrils coiling in reverence. No one questioned the Marshal's certainty. The Dominion had ruled the Orion Arm for 1,000 years. They had broken the Krell Confederacy, consumed the Iraq Hive, and enslaved the Lothari. No one had ever stood against them and survived. Begin the advance, Exorvath ordered. Crush their fleets. Take their worlds. Burn their will to resist. His second-in-command, Commander Valtiach, inclined his head. As you wish, Marshal. The Terrans will scream for mercy before the first sun sets. Exorvath's fanged mouth curled into a smile. They will not have time to scream. Far across the void, in Terran space, the alarms were already sounding. On the bridge of the TNS Leviathan, flagship of the 3rd Terran Expeditionary Armada, Admiral Helena Vos stood before the vast display showing the incoming Sindrath formation. Her face, carved from discipline and resolve, betrayed no emotion. Around her, officers worked in silent efficiency, human precision at its finest. Enemy fleet has crossed the Proxima threshold, reported Lieutenant Corrin. Estimate: 47 warships, including 1 confirmed dreadnought class. Vos nodded slowly. Signal the fleet to battle readiness. Activate the forward shield grids and deploy recon drones. A low hum filled the ship as systems came alive, adaptive shields, quantum railguns, and AI-directed missile swarms. The Leviathan was a fortress in motion, humanity's response to centuries of war. It was not the largest ship in the galaxy, but it was the most dangerous. At her side, Captain Aiden Rees frowned. Sindrath doctrine suggests they'll try to overwhelm us immediately. Shock and awe. Vos smiled faintly. Then let's disappoint them. Moments later, space lit up. The Sindrath fleet struck first, gravitic lances and plasma torpedoes slamming into the human defense line. The Leviathan shuddered as the first wave of energy washed across its shields, scattering brilliant waves of blue light. On the bridge, not a single Terran officer flinched. They're probing, Vos said calmly. They think we're like the others. Return fire? Rees asked. Not yet. Let them think we're struggling. Minutes passed. Alien warships closed in, confident and predatory. Exorvath, watching from the Vraxthal, bared his teeth in triumph. Pathetic. They hide behind shields. Fire again, break them. The second barrage roared forth. Thousands of energy bolts and gravitic mines. But this time, as the glow faded, the Terran ships moved. Vos straightened. All batteries opened fire. The void exploded with human retaliation. From a Leviathan and its escorts streaked hypervelocity slugs. Each a 10-ton projectile accelerated to near-light speed. The first salvo ripped through a Sindrath cruiser, vaporizing it before the crew realized they were under attack. Then came the missile swarms, thousands of autonomous drones darting between debris, adjusting course mid-flight, each one guided by combat AI. On the Vraxthal, alarms shrieked. The Sindrath tried to deploy energy barriers, but the kinetic slugs tore straight through them, carving molten wounds in their hulls. What is this? Valtiach shouted. Their weapons, how are they this advanced? Exorvath's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Impossible. No primitive species could. Marshal, another officer cried. We're losing ships. 17 vessels down. The Sindrath commander's eyes widened. It had been 2 minutes. Back aboard the Leviathan, Vos watched the battle unfold like a chess game. Enemy formations collapsing, Rees reported. They're attempting to retreat toward the outer belt. Vos folded her arms. Pursue. No survivors. No signals leave this system. Yes, Admiral. The human fleet surged forward, cold and efficient. Each ship moved in perfect sync, guided by FleetNet, the quantum-linked combat intelligence overseeing the engagement. Every maneuver anticipated, every weakness exploited. The Sindrath, masters of predation, had never faced prey that bit back harder. Within 20 minutes, the once proud Dominion fleet was burning. Exorvath's dreadnought drifted amidst the wreckage, half its organic plating charred, leaking plasma like blood into the void. He stared at the tactical display, horror spreading through him. They were supposed to fear us, he whispered. We were supposed to be gods. A single transmission cut through the jamming field, calm, human, and cold. This is Admiral Helena Vos of the Terran Union. You entered our space uninvited. You attacked our people. You will receive no mercy. Then came silence, followed by the Leviathan's main cannon charging, a blinding sphere of blue-white light blooming at its bow. Exorvath's final thought, before the beam consumed his ship, was one word that no Sindrath had spoken in centuries. Fear. To the galaxy, the Sindrath were monsters. To humanity, they were practice. The iron teeth of humanity. The aftermath of the first battle drifted in silence. Fragments of alien hulls tumbled through the void, glowing dimly from residual plasma fires. The Terran Third Expeditionary Armada moved among the wreckage like a silent predator, weapons charged, sensors hunting for survivors. Admiral Helena Vos stood at the Leviathan's observation deck, arms clasped behind her back. Her reflection gazed out upon the distant stars, cold, determined, unshaken. For centuries, humanity had fought itself, clawed through wars that nearly burned Earth to ash. Those centuries had forged something unbreakable. The aliens just didn't know it yet. Status of the enemy? She asked. Scattered remnants. Admiral, replied Lieutenant Corrin. We're detecting warp distortions. They're calling reinforcements. Vos gave a slow nod. Good. Saves us the trouble of hunting them down. Across the void, the Sindrath reinforcements arrived. Dozens more warships dropped out of warp, surrounding the wreckage field. In their midst appeared a colossal dreadnought, the Gorvash, second only to the Dominion's flagship itself. On its bridge, Overlord Sithrek, commander of the Outer Fleets, glared at the debris floating before him. What happened here? He demanded. A trembling officer replied. Marshal Exorvath's fleet was destroyed, Overlord. In under half an hour. Sithrek's eyes flared. Destroyed? By who? The Terrans, Overlord. The humans. Sithrek turned to the void, gaze narrowing. Then we'll show these humans what real power looks like. Moments later, space shimmered with movement. Thousands of energy readings bloomed as the Sindrath fleet activated its weapons. The stars dimmed beneath the glow of plasma arcs and gravitic shockwaves. Sithrek's voice boomed through the Dominion comm channels. Commence full assault. Leave nothing but dust. The Sindrath fleet surged forward, releasing waves of bioplasma missiles, living projectiles that shrieked through the void like banshees. The sky turned green and gold with fury. But the humans didn't run. Instead, the Leviathan's AI pulsed to life. FleetNet Prime calculated thousands of trajectories in microseconds. The Terran ships shifted, aligning into a vast crescent formation. Formation Theta confirmed, reported Captain Rees. Shield stable across all sectors. Vos's voice was calm, almost casual. All units, target their forward ranks. Prioritize command vessels. The battle erupted. Terran cannons fired in synchronized volleys, creating a rhythm that echoed across the darkness. Kinetic rail slugs, each as long as a fighter craft, tore through the Sindrath vanguard. Where the projectiles hit, alien ships folded and burned. The Sindrath responded with volleys of plasma, bathing the Terran formation in emerald fire. Yet their shots scattered harmlessly across adaptive shield matrices, the energy dispersing like ripples across a pond. From a Leviathan's lower decks, drone carriers deployed thousands of autonomous fighters. The tiny machines darted through the chaos, weaving between explosions, piercing weak points with surgical precision. Enemy cruiser down. Targets Alpha and Delta neutralized. AI combat efficiency at 94%. Admiral. Every report came crisp, controlled. Humanity's fleet moved like an organism. Each ship a limb, each captain a nerve, all guided by the singular mind of FleetNet. Meanwhile, on the Sindrath Bridge, chaos reigned. Their weapons, how can they penetrate our bioshields? They anticipate every maneuver. They're reading us before we even... Sithrek slammed a clawed hand on the command console. Silence. Advance all units. They cannot have infinite firepower. But the truth was far worse. The humans didn't need infinite firepower. They only needed precision. From the Leviathan's core, a low hum began. Massive coils charged with blinding energy. Crew members shielded their eyes as the spinal cannon, a weapon powered by condensed stellar matter, came online. Main battery ready, announced the weapons officer. Target lock on Gorvash confirmed. Vos raised her hand slowly. Fire. The Leviathan roared. A beam of blue-white light sliced across the void, a spear of annihilation traveling faster than thought. It pierced the Gorvash's hull, cutting the dreadnought in half. For a brief second, the alien ship's living tissue screamed. A sound transmitted across comms like the cry of a dying god. Then silence. Direct hit, Reese said quietly. The Gorvash is gone. Vos didn't celebrate. All ships advance. No survivors. For the Sindrath, the battle had turned into a massacre. One by one, their ships detonated under the relentless Terran assault. Their organic hulls, once thought indestructible, ruptured like thin skin under railgun fire. Plasma fires illuminated the dark like dying suns. Retreat, shouted one alien captain. We must regroup. But the humans had already jammed their quantum relays. Every signal bounced uselessly off a wall of electromagnetic interference. There would be no reinforcements, no escape. Vos gave her final command, deploy the vulture wings. From a Leviathan's hangars launched stealth corvettes, their hulls invisible to most sensors. They weaved between the debris, placing gravitic warheads on retreating ships. The explosions that followed tore the last remnants of the Sindrath fleet apart. The void went still. When the dust settled, only Terran ships remained. The Leviathan floated at the center of a halo of burning wrecks. Inside the command deck, the tension eased but not the focus. Lieutenant Corrin exhaled. Enemy fleet destroyed. Casualties negligible. Vos nodded once. Transmit a message to Earth Command. Operation Iron Fang complete. The Sindrath threat is neutralized. Reese turned to her. You think that was all of them? No, she said, her gaze distant. But word will spread, and when it does, the galaxy will realize. She turned toward the viewport, watching the alien fires fade. That humanity doesn't fight for survival anymore. We fight to win. Across the stars, alien observers watched the Terran victory broadcasts. Entire civilizations trembled as the Sindrath, once the galaxy's apex predators, were erased in less than a day. The legend of the Terran Armada had begun. When predators meet apex predators, the wreckage of the Sindrath fleet drifted like ash across the void. Twisted remains of organic ships floated aimlessly, their once living hulls now hollow and silent. The Terran Third Armada patrolled the debris field with mechanical precision, hunting for survivors. Not to rescue them, but to ensure none escaped. Admiral Helena Vos stood in the Leviathan's tactical room, holographic projections flickering around her. Data streams, biosignature scans, and intercepted transmissions painted a picture of near-total annihilation. Only one vessel remained functional. The Sindrath Command Dreadnought Vraxthal, heavily damaged but still pulsing with faint life signals. Captain Aiden Rees approached her with a hard expression. Scans confirm the Vraxtal's core is still active. Power readings are low, but it's holding. We could vaporize it and be done. Vos shook her head slowly. No, I want it boarded. Rees blinked. Boarded? Admiral, that's the same dreadnought class that led the initial invasion. Exactly, Vos replied. We've shown the galaxy what our fleets can do. Now we show them what it means when humans set foot on enemy soil. An hour later, the Terran assault ship Odin's Spear launched from the Leviathan's hangar. Inside, 100 Terran Marines stood ready in full combat armor. Hulking suits of adaptive plating powered by fusion cores, glowing faintly blue beneath the armor seams. Their helmets bore no insignias, only a single red visor strip across the face, cold and impersonal. Commander Nathan Hale, leader of the 1st Shock Battalion, paced the deck, his armor clanking softly. Mission's simple, he said. Secure the Dreadnought's core, retrieve their command data, and eliminate any hostiles. You've seen the vids. They call themselves Predators. Time to show them what a real one looks like. The Marines grinned beneath their helmets. The dropship's engines flared, and moments later, it dove toward the wounded alien behemoth. The Vraxtal loomed ahead, its organic hull torn open by railgun strikes. Pulsating veins of bioluminescent tissue glowed dimly, leaking dark plasma into space. The dropship aligned with a breach in the outer shell and fired molecular cutters, melting through layers of living flesh-like metal. The Marines surged in. Inside, the air was thick, humid, and faintly glowing. The walls pulsed as though breathing. Black fluid dripped from ruptured arteries along the corridors. The sound of the humans' heavy boots echoed unnaturally, metal against flesh. Motion sensors picking up movement, said Sergeant Vega, her voice crisp through comms. Multiple life forms ahead. Hostile signatures. Good, Hale said. Let them come. The Sindrath appeared out of the gloom. Warriors with chitinous armor and bladed limbs, their mouths lined with razors. They hissed and charged, confident in their numbers. The Terrans didn't flinch. Hale's rifle thundered, firing superheated rail slugs that tore through the first wave like paper. The Marines advanced in formation, their weapons spitting arcs of plasma and kinetic death. Each shot found its mark. Within seconds, the corridor was silent again, filled only with the hiss of cooling barrels. Vegas stepped over a fallen alien and muttered, "Predators, huh? More like meat." Deeper inside the dreadnought, War Marshal Exorvath, somehow alive, watched the invasion through his command console. His body was broken, one arm severed, his carapace cracked. Yet his hatred burned brighter than ever. "Fools," he rasped to his remaining guards. "They come into our vessel. Let them choke on it. Seal the corridors. Release the neurospores." Sindrath warriors obeyed, activating the ship's defense systems. Vents hissed open, filling the tunnels with a shimmering green mist. The Marines' sensors flared warnings. Bioagent detected. Vega called. "Activate suit filtration." Hale ordered calmly. "Keep moving." The mist thickened, but the Terran armor was built for worse. Acidic storms, vacuum combat, radiation zones. The neurospores did nothing. The humans marched through the fog like unstoppable shadows. They breached the central command chamber. The doors exploded inward, molten edges glowing from breaching charges. Inside, Exorvath stood amid the ruins of his command throne, towering and defiant despite his wounds. Around him, dying consoles flickered with dying light. He raised his blade staff. "You dare defile this ship, humans. You think yourselves mighty." Hale stepped forward, visor glowing red. "No, we know we are." Exorvath lunged, but Hale moved faster. The Marine's exo-powered arm caught the alien mid-strike, twisted, and drove a plasma bayonet through his chest. The alien shrieked, acidic blood spraying the walls. The War Marshal gurgled, eyes wide. What are you?" Hale leaned closer, voice low and cold through his helmet speaker. "Evolution. Final form." He ripped the blade free. Exorvath collapsed, the glow in his eyes fading to nothing. Moments later, Hale activated his comm, command chamber secure. Resistance eliminated. Uploading data, cores now. Back on the Leviathan, Vos watched as streams of alien information flooded through the fleet network. Sindrath tactical plans, warp routes, and planetary databases. Every secret the Dominion had ever kept now belonged to humanity. Excellent work, she said. Retrieve all intel and plant demolition charges. I want that ship erased. The Terran Marines withdrew as the Leviathan's cannons targeted the crippled dreadnought. A single shot from its spinal cannon turned the Vraxthal into a starburst of molten fragments. Rees turned to Vos. That's the last of them, Admiral. Vos nodded, her tone almost emotionless. Send word to Earth Command. The Sindrath Dominion's leadership is dead. Begin data analysis. Their empire will collapse within weeks. She gazed at the battlefield one last time, millions of tons of alien wreckage, burning softly in the darkness. Around it, the Terran fleet stood and scathed, engines humming like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. They called themselves predators, she said quietly. They just met the apex. Across the galaxy, silent observers, traitors, mercenaries, and alien governments watched the transmissions with dread. The Sindrath Dominion, a 1,000-year terror, had fallen in a single campaign. And at the center of that storm was humanity, calm, methodical, unstoppable. An easy one. The Leviathan glided through the debris field like a shadow among corpses. The once proud Sindrath Dominion lay in ruins, their fleets obliterated, their command ships reduced to molten dust. The Terran Armada's victory was absolute. Yet aboard the Leviathan, there was no celebration, only silent efficiency. Humanity didn't fight for glory anymore. It fought to end wars quickly. Admiral Helena Vos stood in the fleet command room as reports came in from every sector. Admiral, said Lieutenant Corrin, final scans confirm 0 Sindrath warp signatures. No survivors within 20 light hours. Good, Vos replied. Initiate recovery operations. Salvage anything useful, their hull samples, their energy cores, their language archives. Everything else vaporize. Captain Aiden Rees frowned. You're really wiping it all, ma'am? Even the escape pods. Vos turned to him. Her voice was even controlled. The Sindrath built their empire on extermination. They enslave hundreds of species. If we leave a single ember, it will burn again. Rees nodded grimly. He'd seen what the aliens had done to the frontier colonies. Human outposts left hollow, their populations consumed. He didn't argue further. Understood, Admiral. Commencing purge. As the orders rippled through the Terran fleet, the Armada moved like clockwork. Drone carriers deployed swarms of disintegration bots, tiny machines that stripped wreckage down to atoms. Plasma beams burned the last alien fragments to vapor. In hours, the entire battlefield was cleansed. From orbit, the humans could see the Sindrath homeworld, a dark planet shrouded in perpetual storm. The Terran Armada had established blockade stations in high orbit. Thousands of orbital cannons pointed toward the surface, ready to erase resistance before it even rose. Planetary transmissions, reported Corrin. Multiple distress calls. Civilians, some requesting surrender. Vos regarded the storming planet for a long moment. Patch them through. A holographic projection shimmered. A Sindrath elder, her carapace cracked, eyes wide with despair. Humans, she rasped. You have destroyed our fleets, our leaders. What do you want from us? What more could you take? Vos stared coldly into the projection. Nothing. We don't want your worlds. We don't want your slaves. We want peace, and you made sure we could only have it this way. Then she gave the order. Transmit the Dominion directive. Across the galaxy, every major civilization received a signal. A single human voice, Admiral Vos, speaking with chilling clarity. This is the Terran Union. The Sindrath Dominion has fallen. Their fleets are gone. Their command destroyed. Let this message be clear. Humanity does not seek conquest. But if you bring war to our door, we will end you. Completely. The message repeated once, then cut to silence. And just like that, the galaxy trembled. On the bridge, Captain Rees watched the stars pass beyond the Leviathan's viewport. "Do you think they'll believe it, ma'am?" he asked quietly. "That we're not conquerors?" Vos's gaze remained fixed on the void. "Belief doesn't matter. Fear will do just fine." She walked to the central console, hands clasped behind her back. "Prepare the fleet to return home. Earth Command wants the data from the Sindrath archives analyzed and shared with the science divisions. The war's over." Rees hesitated. "And if the galaxy doesn't stay quiet?" Vos looked at him then, calm, expression unreadable. "Then we remind them again." Hours later, the Terran Armada assembled for the return jump. Hundreds of ships, from sleek destroyers to hulking carriers, aligned in perfect formation around the Leviathan. Their engines flared with synchronized pulses of white light, tearing open the warp gate to soul space. Inside the bridge, the crew prepared for transit. Yet the mood wasn't triumphant. It was professional, focused, unshaken. Corin broke the silence softly. "I still can't believe it's over. An entire Dominion gone." Vos allowed herself the faintest smile. "It wasn't over, Lieutenant. It was simply too easy." The bridge crew exchanged looks, half in awe, half in disbelief. Because to humanity, a war that had cost other species their existence had lasted less than a day. As the Armada entered warp, their message echoed through every star network in the galaxy. Alien governments convened emergency councils. Mercantile guilds halted trade routes that crossed Terran space. And in dark corners of the universe, whispers spread, stories of humans who fought like machines, who destroyed empires without emotion, who smiled as fleets burned. One alien diplomat on the Galactic Council summed it up best. "They don't conquer for territory. They conquer for security. And they never, ever lose." Days later, the Leviathan descended toward Earth orbit. The blue marble hung in the dark, quiet, beautiful, untouched by the carnage of war. Fleet escorts peeled off, one by one, saluting before re-entry. Inside her command chamber, Vos watched in silence as the homeworld grew larger. The thought of victory didn't fill her with pride, only with finality. Humanity had become what it was always destined to be, the galaxy's deterrent. "Welcome home, Admiral," Rees said. "Command has authorized debriefing and commendations." Vos nodded slightly. "File the reports. Make sure FleetNet archives the Sindrath battle data. Historians will want to see how this war was won." He smiled faintly. "They'll call it the easiest war in Terran history." Vos turned to face him, eyes cold and unreadable. "It wasn't easy. We just stopped being afraid of monsters." She looked back toward Earth as the Leviathan entered orbit. The ship's engines dimmed, its hull aglow against the morning sun. Below them lay the cradle of humanity, and above it, their iron guardians. The fleet broadcast one final coded message across all channels, a Terran Navy phrase known to every soldier, every pilot, every shipyard worker. "Mission accomplished. No threats remain." Then came a smaller, unofficial transmission from the Leviathan's captain's log, later leaked across the galaxy and replayed in fear for years to come. The Sindrath called themselves predators. They thought we'd be prey. Turns out, they were just the appetizer. That was an easy one.